wanted to ask about ball movement. Obviously, maybe the game was a little atypical in terms of assists, but what are some things you can do to sort of spur a little bit more of that, sharing the ball and trying to get moving a little less stagnant?
Yeah, I've talked to the team a number of times. I mean, that's all we talk about is a combination of ball movement and player movement, ball movement and player movement, and everything from an offensive standpoint is bound by spacing and balance with a combination of ball and player movement. And so that's something that for this specific team we have communicated, talked about, drilled, practiced the first time that we got together as a group. And at the end of the day, what teams are doing against us is they are being very physical. And that physicality has bothered us. And that physicality has bothered us in terms of our movement. It has bothered us in terms of our spacing. And it's bothered us in terms of us running our plays with purpose and pace.
Hubert, just to follow up on that, that was something that sort of occurred to me the other night. Does it seem like that, you guys don't get many easy baskets?
I don't remember one. I remember out of bounds underneath in the second half when Pete threw the bounce pass to Armando for a dunk. I can't remember another easy basket that we got. And as I said before, not just Indiana, just the physicality of other teams in terms of how they're guarding ball screens. They're blitzing us a lot. Our guards aren't able to, to penetrate and get downhill. It's taken us off of our spots. It's taken us off of our movement and our spacing and in the pace in which you have to run a play in order to generate a great shot, not only for yourself, but for others. And that's something that we're going to work on today and tomorrow, something that I've thought about, stuff that we've talked about, over the last, I told you guys before, it was really good for two reasons. One, to be home. Okay. And then number two is have a chance just to kind of think. And over the last couple of days, just been thinking two things. What's not working? And then on the other end, what's not working because we're not working? And those are two different things. And the things that aren't working, those are the things that you have to look at in terms of tweaking, pivoting, altering, and changing. But the things that aren't working because you aren't working, those are things you need to stay the course. And it's been great to have the last couple of days, and I can't wait, for practice at 4:00 to communicate to the guys what's not working and the tweaks and pivots and the alters and the changes that we'll make, and the things that aren't working because we're not working, and that we're going to stay the course and and get better.
In your evaluation, which has been more prevalent?
I believe that it's not working because we're not working. I do, and even to be specific, Virginia Tech is unbelievable. They have a great coaching staff, great team. The manner in which they run their plays, they run, everybody in the country runs set screens, they come off screens, they got guys that can post up, they have guys that can shoot, but just the pace in which they run their plays really puts them in a position to be efficient on the offensive end. That's, so if you run a play and you don't run it with pace and purpose, the play's not working, but it's not the play, it's the pace and the purpose in which you run that play. And so I would 100% believe that most of the stuff that isn't working is because we're not working.
Coach, one of the big things you were kind of talking about at the beginning of the season was like blocking out the noise, especially having that number one spot. With things kind of looking different now, is that still the same message you're preaching, especially with like social media and a lot of controversy?
I think it's an ongoing message. It is the message. It is what it is. It doesn't matter where you're ranked, what year, whether you're a coach or a student athlete, your ability to be able to focus on what is real and to turn down or turn off the noise from the phone, the family, and the friends is very important. You know, I think I've said it before, just in referencing an interview by Doc Rivers on HBO series, and he just talked about, like, in the locker room, there's more people in the locker room, and there is. There's the voices of the phones, there are the voices of the family, there's the voices of the friends, there's the voices of the agents, there's the voices of the workout guys. And so there's more people in the locker room. And individually and as a team, having the ability to turn down or turn off that noise is critical. And the group last year did a really good job of doing that. And my belief is that this group will do a great job of that as well.
Hubert, I think last year you may have said something to the effect of you don't decide how deep the rotation is, the players do, a little bit with the idea of like how they perform in practice. Kind of how would you assess then the depth behind, you've got guys that have seen a lot of college games and minutes at the top of the rotation. How would you assess what's going on behind that and how those guys are developed?
They are. I really love what DeMarco, Seth, and Puff are doing. Their minutes are just gonna continue to rise. They just obviously they're playing not only well but consistently well in practice, and they're also confirming that by their play in the game. And I'm very happy with the way that they've been playing, and they're gonna get more minutes. Everybody else is continuing to get better and looking for consistency in practice. And as I said before, you play well in practice, I'll play in the game. You consistently play well in practice, I'll play in the game. And if you play well in the game, I'll give you more playing time. It's plain and simple. And I don't dictate playing time, I don't dictate rotations, and that's just my philosophy on who plays and who doesn't.
Hubert, Armando's gotten pretty beat up the last couple of games, and talking to him the other night at IU, he was, I know he's not a doctor, he was saying he might go get some x-rays coming out of the game, was what he was telling me. I mean, do you expect him to play Sunday? I mean, it seems like he might possibly need some time to heal here. What are your expectations for him this weekend?
My expectation is for everybody to be playing on Sunday. I haven't heard of any x-rays, I haven't heard of...
Okay.
I'm ready for practice at 4. North Carolina will be in Blacksburg on Saturday, but ready to play on Sunday.
Hubert, for Leaky, he's sort of been a connected guy. His whole career here has been sort of do everything, playmaker, and going through people's hands. His assist rate is down pretty substantially this year. Do you think that's a factor of him being more involved offensively, taking more shots? Is that just a continued sort of issue of player involvement?
I don't know. One of the things is it's such a small sample size right now. People, through these press conferences have thrown numbers at me, and I'm just like, it's 8 games in, And so, yes, over the last couple of years, Leaky has had the best assist-to-turnover ratio on the team. And he just makes great decisions. He's an excellent passer, and to be able to have a playmaker, another playmaker out there on the floor with his size and athleticism is just a huge benefit to all the unbelievable great things that Leaky does for us. He doesn't have that 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio right now, but my belief is by the end of the year he will. 8 games in, I don't want to make any judgments on a small sample size of games.
Coach Davis, I just wanted to ask your thoughts on something that I heard from Courtney Banghart in last night's press conference. Somebody asked her about the idea that, you guys are suffering, women's team, their first loss of the season. What can you learn from that? And she said something like, I don't think you have to lose to win. Obviously coming off of a 3-game losing streak, just what are your thoughts kind of on that idea that you don't have to lose to win?
I don't think you should have to lose any First of all, it's hard for me to comment, and one of the things that I like to try to stay away from is commenting on somebody else's comments when I wasn't there, and I don't know the context in which she said it, and so I stay away from commenting on that. In regards to, and I think what you're trying to say is, you know, do you have to go through tough times in order to be the best that you can be? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But at the end of the day, you want to be the best that you can be. And so whether that is through trials and tribulations or triumphs and victories, at the end of the day, the end goal is the same.
It's sort of related to that. Like some people say you shouldn't have to maybe lose to learn a lesson. You can learn a lesson through winning. Maybe that's sort
I
of.
prefer learning lessons through
Do you
winning.
think players, though,
Same here.
I mean, are they more attuned to learning the lesson after a setback, or can they learn it through success?
That's a great question. I think that's individually based. And for me personally, I love being in a position of listening and learning, and whether we win or whether we lose, there's a lot that I learn from each game, and so I don't have to go through a trial to feel like I'm really growing or learning. You can do it through victories and you can do it through losses, but I think it's individually based.
What stood out to you when you watched the film from Indiana defensively about, again, small sample size of the season, but what you like about what you're doing right now defensively, what you don't?
Defensively, we're just not doing a very good job protecting the paint, and I feel like where it has really, for the most part, starts is the way that we're guarding ball screens. That's something that we're going to have to tweak, alter, pivot, or change. Guards are being able to get depth into the paint, to the basket, and it's just breaking down our defense, and I think that's a huge reason in terms of contributing to the points in the paint that some of the teams have had. The points in the paint also, I think it's a contributing factor is our transition defense and as a result of turnovers, and I think I've said this before, like our turnovers, like our pick sixes, and so that just really hurts us. And so outside of that, I really do love our defense. The first 20 seconds, I feel like where we break down in terms of the discipline and the details is in the latter part of the shot clock, and I think that's an area that we need to get better at as well.
You had mentioned before Portland earlier this season that you had hoped at some point, maybe in December, to be able to integrate Jalen back into the lineup.
Yeah.
Is that still sort of the plan, or how is he sort of
Oh
progressing?
yeah, he's progressing extremely well, and I'm looking for him to be a full go by next week.
Got time for 2 or 3 more quick ones?
Hubert, the thinking about the last season, the game at Virginia Tech was sort of where you turned it around. You were coming off the home loss to Pitt, and you went up there, you won the game, and you got really hot through February and March. But is that something that comes to mind as you prepare for them again, just turning on the tape and maybe seeing you in that arena and that type of thing? Is that something maybe a nugget you give these guys to think about?
No, I don't. I just don't think that helps us on Sunday. We're a different team. Virginia Tech is a very different team. Our focus is on going up there and competing and putting ourselves in a position to be successful. I think adding that type of weight in terms of turning everything around in Blacksburg, I don't think it helps us. I don't think it's of any benefit. And I know a lot of people from last year they want to grab onto something on what happened. I can't tell you how many questions I've had. What happened? Was it the Virginia Tech game? Was it the Pitt game? Was there a no coaches meeting, all players? It was none of that. It was a year of growth. We just kept getting better and better. Even through the wins and the losses, we stuck together and we kept getting better and better. And so for this year's team, that's what we have to do. We got to stick together And we gotta tweak and alter and pivot and change the things that we need to change, and then we need to stay the course on the things that are good for us. And that's what we're gonna have to do the next season. And so we're just in the similar spot. And it's a joy and a privilege to be able to walk through it. And this season, just like last season, is life. There are gonna be rainy days and cloudy days. There are gonna be sunny days. And, just gotta figure it out. But be committed to getting up every day and going to work. Just like all of us.
We didn't ask you a ton about Virginia Tech itself. When you look at Padula and Mutz and some of the guys they have, what are the immediate challenges that they pose just from a personal basis?
Well, I mean, obviously they're very talented. You know, they can just very gifted from an offensive standpoint. And I mentioned earlier the purpose and the pace in which they run their sets. You have to be consistent, and there has to be a discipline about you defensively to be able to guard their multiple actions every possession defensively. And so, from an offensive standpoint, they're very talented, and they always are very physical and tough on the defensive end. And anytime that you play on the road, first game ACC, it's which we've done for the fifth straight year. Third straight year.
4 out of 6.
4 to 6.
4 out of 6.
4 out of 6. It's going to be a challenge for us, but I'm really excited about going up there, and they're a great team and a great staff.
Last one.
Have the players asked to modify at all or add anything to that list of goals that they gave you earlier in the year?
I just want to stick to those goals. And let's check the box on the goals that are written down on that paper before we start adding. Let's check the box to everything that's on that sheet. Then once we check the box consistently to everything on that sheet, then we can think about adding to the sheet.
But they haven't wanted to change or modify anything based on recent performances or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Can I just follow up real quick on Jalen? When
You're
you said,
good anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you can yell at
He
me.
said last one, so go ahead.
Go for it.
Thank you. When you say full go on Jalen, you mean just in practice?
No, I
No,
mean,
okay.
no, I mean full go. Like green light, go for it.
Okay.
He's been full go for practice for about 2.5 weeks. And so, he didn't play his senior year of high school, and not only is he an unbelievable and great kid, I think he has a very bright future, and I just want to make sure physically, in terms of fitness and also strength, that he's in a good place to be able to do the things that he wants to do out there on the floor. And so for each one of the players, it's about them personally first and the basketball. And so he's just a great kid.